Hey, welcome back, folks. Today we're going to review a new Shudder exclusive horror movie called 825 Forest Road. This one is directed by Stephen Cognetti. I just want to digress a little and say that we love doing these videos and sharing our love of movies. This is all about sharing that love to you all, particularly our love of horror and engaging with the community here. But every now and then there comes a movie that for me, questions my life choices, particularly whether I should hit that play button. So, with that said, is 825 Forest Road one of those movies here? So, we're gonna break it down, review this movie, touch on a few spoilers. But with that said, this particular horror film follows a tradition of horror movies named after particular locations, like Salem's Lot, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now we got this one, 825 Forest Road. So, going into this that locale is going to have a particular aura and atmosphere and play a central role in the movie. The plot of this movie revolves around the character of Chuck and his younger sister and wife after suffering a horrible tragedy. So they're dealing with that. They move to this small town to this new house, and it turns out that there is a supernatural presence perhaps lurking of this deceased mother named Helen Foster. So that's the basic premise here. Going into this, what was your just overall reaction to begin with?
Well, I always want to like films like this because it's a small film made on a very modest budget on 16 millimeter. But my reaction to it very quickly was that this film is a really forgettable, one of the many forgettable entries in the genre. The atmosphere isn't established in any kind of consistent way, or where it is consistent, I think it's consistently a series of bad choices. We can talk about those in a little bit more detail. But yeah, the setup is generic. The setup is formula. And that's not a problem if it's executed well. But
Yeah,
it isn't. It really isn't.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go into some of my issues and problems with the movie, but to start out with some of the pros and things I thought kind of worked. One of them was Chuck's wife, Maria, is like a fashion designer. She runs kind of, I think, like a YouTube style content creation kind of channel featuring her crafts and fashion. She has this incredibly creepy mannequin that
Mm.
she features in her videos and is this has a sentimental attachment to. I thought the mannequin's design was pretty effective because it left me questioning when I was looking at it, is this an actual like person they have on set pretending to be a mannequin or an actual mannequin that they made? And I think they switched it out sometimes. They had an actual person there, sometimes they didn't. But man, I agree with you. Like everything else was like a dud in this movie. Like the characters were not believable at all. Like Chuck, and his relationship with his younger sister. They tried to build this up, and I also found the characters quite annoying too. For example, like Chuck's younger sister, Isabel, like in the beginning, you're just learning about them, but he buys this new home for the whole family, and he's saying to his sister, "Oh, you'll have a room and space for your art now." And she's like, "I don't care," like, and just being ungrateful. And I was like, "Geez, what a brat," you know? Um,
Well, that whole moment, like, and again, this is like another moment that doesn't land. That whole moment is supposed to demonstrate that they've been estranged and he doesn't know anything about her. And it's like, I'm going to college and art. How can you not know that about me? Buh. I will say this, a consistent source of entertainment for me was Ben Falcone, who plays Chuck. First of all, I think it's hilarious that he's called Chuck.
yeah,
I just think that's really funny. And like a movie like this, that, Cognetti's trying to go for something serious. One of the main characters is called Chuck. He just
yeah.
looks constipated and uncomfortable the entire film, and there's nothing there.
The script doesn't really serve the actors here. There's not much that they
Mm.
can do with it. Like even that, the one scene, establishing him as a piano teacher, where he has a student coming over for a private lesson, and like she comes in and starts playing, and he immediately starts like crapping on her like on her playing. The writing is so bad for this character. You just don't buy that.
Yeah. No, he's not credible as any kind of a
Yeah.
teacher, piano teacher or otherwise, right? Because like he basically like you're right. He leads in by saying, "Oh, it's so refreshing that you suck." The expository elements and how clumsy and badly handled they were a consistent source of entertainment for me. The bad acting, the dialogue, and the really inept exposition.
One of the clunky things about the exposition, and this is going into the spoiler section here of this video, but Chuck attends like one of these gardener meetings of the townsfolk, which turns out just to be a front for the townspeople just to talk about what's going on with haunting. A lot of like the thematic stuff that you could just imply and kind of show and present and build up to and build an atmosphere around, they just tell you up front, like, oh, it spreads
Mm.
like an infection. She latches on to inanimate objects. And so that's a giveaway too. Like, oh, probably that mannequin is going to be taken over. And then latches on to people's trauma. And okay, all right, there you go. So it tells you that this is a entity, supernatural entity that feeds off trauma, similar to the entity in Smile. So once you know everything, like the mystery is just dispelled and there's just no suspense to it. And you can see everything coming a mile away. Like, for example, the house they moved into, like from the very beginning, like I knew like once they started talking about like 825 Forest Road, like where is that? I knew from the beginning, like, the whole thing is the whole mystery is that 825 Forest Road is not on the map of the town. No one can find it. Everyone's been searching for it for decades. No one's found it. And when people get close to finding it, they disappear or die. I knew from the beginning that the house they moved into, this family, that was going to be the place,
Well, it actually turns out it's the place of the family of the child that was actually bullying Helen Foster's kid.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But what happens in this film though is that because the plot is so paper thin, it's never clear to me, and it doesn't seem to even be stated by anybody uh, why you would want to find 825 Road. What solution to the problem is that going to solve, right? I mean,
yeah,
what is going to happen if you do? Like, but just like what you were saying, people who try to find it, um, or get too close to finding it, they disappear, right? So it's like, isn't that a good reason not to do it? Um, and then on the other hand, too, it's like the Gardeners Club. They also like the town doesn't like it when we talk about it. Well, it's like you're always effing talking about it, you know. And apparently, she doesn't like it. The evil entity doesn't like it when you talk about it either. You're all talking about it. It's all you ever do, and it's like none of this makes any sense because the mythology of the curse hasn't been developed in any kind of sensible way that would provide some kind of explanation for why the characters are behaving in the way that they do, why the protagonists in particular are so desperate to find this place. And then on top of it, I think the crowning moment of anticlimax was when it turns out that the person who finds this place isn't even one of the main characters, isn't even one of the core family members. Turns out to be this college friend of Isabel. He finds it off screen. It's like, hey, I found it.
yeah,
Turns out,
yeah.
why aren't we following this guy, man? Right? I mean, it's like what was going on here all along? He was that there was the real mystery was over there, and we were off here instead.
That's right. One thing the film does is it's structured in chapters. So you get the first chapter from Chuck's perspective, the second one from Isabel's perspective, and then the third one from his wife, Maria.
Those three different versions of the same, sequence of events are really only there to provide new opportunities for, generating fear and jump scares, right? But the new information, there's no real fundamentally new information about the mythology or about the mystery, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's like, if you're going to tell a story that way, then the payoff has to be twofold or even threefold. You have to be invested emotionally in the character so that seeing things from their perspective is actually something you want to spend time with. There has to be some kind of legitimate payoff in terms of generating fear, like a really good jump scare, or or preferably all three. The last thing is some new piece of information that puts another puzzle in place has to be provided. It's a tall order. It's not easy to do. So I mean, it's little wonder that it's not done very effectively very often. But nevertheless, Cognetti and company are aiming at making this a kind of slow burn mystery horror, but there's no fundamental mystery. And the slow burn is dead in the water because A, it's not scary, and B, the mystery is pretty transparent from the get-go. And then C, you don't care about the characters. You just really fundamentally don't. And again, in horror films, that's often not a problem, right? I mean, but it is when part of the hook, part of the trope that you're playing with is actually built into the idea that you have to care about these characters to even be along for the ride for this particular gimmick that you're trying to play with.
Yeah, just didn't pull off the thrills or the scares, and then it was misguided to throw in the whole kind of psychological family drama because it just didn't come off, you know. So, what would
Yeah.
you give this, out of 5 stars?
Oh, I mean, it gets a half a star for me.
Well,
I mean, it gets a half a star because Cognetti got the film made. I think it's anytime a film is made, you know, you had to work hard to get that film made, even if it's a piece of crap. So half a star for getting the film made.
yeah,
But that's it. I mean, there's nothing else here. I mean, uh, for all the reasons we've talked about, just boy, this does not land. This is one of the many, many, many awful films that, as horror fans, we have to sift through in order to find the really good ones, right?
yeah,
And everyone knows what we're talking about. And I think this is just part of the process. You've got to sift through a lot of trash to find your diamonds in the rough. Um,
yeah. I mean, I think I would give this one like 1 star. This is a 1 star movie. I mean, yeah, I did not like it. Didn't work for me. But, there were certain moments that I saw potential in. For example, like the mannequin, you
mm,
know. And so, I thought, okay, yeah, those things are having kind of the intended effect where I'm questioning whether it's alive or not. 1 star for that. But wouldn't get my recommendation. All right, so those are our thoughts on 825 Forest Road. Let us know if you've seen this film. Please share your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video here.